to give each of my panelists a moment to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Shayne. First of all, good afternoon to all of you. My name is Stig. I will not pronounce my last name because it's a bit difficult. I'm partner at Double Pass company, and Double Pass is an international company active in the field of talent development and team value management. And that's actually what we do on a global scale in terms of supporting confederations, federations, leagues, individual clubs and investors to support and advise them into how to create sustainable talent pipelines and how to achieve not only performance value but also financial value out of developing homegrown players. So that's a bit the core of what we do, and also looking forward to the discussion today with the colleagues, because originally Double Pass was founded from a spin-off as a university in Belgium, so linked to the topic of how business models can be, let's say, supported by educational programs. Yeah, very interesting and very looking forward to the discussion today.
Amazing, thank you. Yohei?
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Yohei. I am from Kashima Antlers Football Club in Japan, J-League. It's an absolute honor to be here, and thank you for having me on this panel. Everybody who's involved in the World Football Summit event, SBL, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for having me here. It's absolutely amazing. 4 days ago, we were crowned J-League champions, and now I'm here representing the club and the league. So very, very excited to be here. Today, I think we're going to talk about football education. That's a big topic. Maybe, you know, from my point of view personally, I'm not an education expert by all means, but I think I have a 15 years experience with Kashima to talk about how education and football can really mix to really develop our club in the past 30 years. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Kristian. I'm co-founder and CEO of the Football Business Academy, and it's a pleasure to join this great panel, including champions. We are also the academic partner of World Football Summit, so it's really a pleasure always to be able to share the stage and provoke some thought-provoking discussions about, you know, the role that education plays in developing the industry. And yeah, as part of our business, you know, we are a global leader in football business education. We have our flagship professional master in football business, and we also create and deliver bespoke educational programs to different football stakeholders around the world, which we'll get into in a minute as well.
Amazing, thank you. First question is for you, Kristian. So, as Asia reshapes its place in global football, what kind of education ecosystem does the region need to build to truly compete with the traditional powerhouses? And where do you see the greatest opportunity for Asia to define its own model rather than inherit Europe's?
So, from our actually experience, a few years ago, the AFC, the Asian Football Confederation, made a very strategic bet on education, and actually we were their academic partner for the first 2.5 years. We helped them set up the Academic Center of Excellence, and that really gave a boost to the region of Asia to really start building that capacity across the industry that would be necessary for AFC to, let's say, fulfill its vision, right, of being able to compete or even beat the traditional powerhouses of world football. In that context, essentially what you're looking at is you're developing a whole new talent pool, which historically either hasn't fully existed or hasn't been developed to the extent where the ambition, you know, would take the region. And so it starts with that, you know, it starts with like a strategic mindset and vision of wanting to develop these types of educational pathways for different stakeholders across the industry, from senior level all the way down to junior level. And I think the opportunity for Asia is to do it in its own unique way. At the end of the day, you know, we're in 2025 now. The world has moved on. Technology has given us so many different opportunities to to do things differently than maybe in the 20th century. And I think Asia's opportunity is really to tap into that. You know, they have a very young, digitally connected population as well. And I think, you know, the sweet spot will be when they are able to continue taking the best potentially of international benchmarks, but then localizing it to their current needs and realities and the local needs and realities. And I think that will set them up, you know, for a really good roadmap ahead.
Yohei, where do you see Asia as naturally leading?
Well, I think first of all, Asia is a massive continent. So I think you know, it's easy to say, you know, how Asia could lead the global football industry, but Asia, when you take Asia, is because geographically, in terms of size of population, political background, history, all that is absolutely huge. But when you actually see it in the football context, I think we all share the same reality that even us Japanese, Saudi Arabians, our football is still at a developing stage in terms of football business and also on the pitch as well, in terms of talent development as well. So we both share that we are still at this phase where we are trying to build or develop our football culture and football business. And now I think that could be to an advantage, you know, because we're not constrained to a long history and culture as you were in South America or in Europe. I think for us, we are more agile. We have the freedom of building new ecosystem and new business models from zero, if you like. And because we are in the middle of this process, I think, yes, sometimes we make mistakes, but we're allowed to. And that could be our strength, really. Having a sort of coming up with new business models that could lead the global industry in football, attuned with all the surrounding industries and technologies that's like progressing so fast in the world. We can absorb all that and come up with a new business model and ecosystem. I think that could be to our advantage.
For me, I would like to add on the point of Yohei that geographically, politically, culturally, there are so many differences within Asia. I mean, such a big size of continent, and therefore we also believe, and it's like Kristian said, there is like a decent, let's say, education system in place, which is the academic center of excellence. But there is a personal belief from my side that it also needs to be tailored to some of the countries and some of the federations which look from a different perspective to football, to the game, to talent development. And therefore, and that's what we globally advise everywhere, whether it's in Europe, South America, or in Asia, is that the continuous professional development of people who go through a system like the Academic Center of Excellence and what FBA is doing there, is that we believe that it should be more tailored per country, per federation. So that's already one thing, the tailor-made and the realistic situation for every country. And a second element I would like to mention here is that if the business model and the belief of leagues, federations, clubs is that talent development is the future and local homegrown talent should be developed and produced to play, perform in the first team, to sell on and create value out of those players, if that's the business model, which is a belief by clubs, leagues, federations, then for us, the key to also be able to unlock this is to educate, again, in a tailor-made way, the technical directors, sporting directors, academy directors, the sport technical leadership of a country who sits in the driver's seat to make this happen. So, and those are, I think, the two important elements that that can be added value to the discussion here.
I love that. Just a quick follow-up. What are the developmental patterns you see across Asia that, if strengthened, would fundamentally elevate the region's football identity?
So the trends that we see is that, and that's again a global trend, is that successful countries, they invest into installing a system. And a system for us, and that's the broader way of how we look to an educational ecosystem. The system starts with developing kind of guidelines, standards, which can be helpful and very impactful for academies, talent development centers, who should operate on a daily basis with all those local talents. And a good example here, for instance, is what we did 12 years ago in England with the Premier League, developing that EPPP plan, the Elite Player Performance Plans. That was the starting point of providing information and insights to all the talent development systems within the country there. And built upon that kind of, let's say, call it a guidance and talent development manual, we started to educate the people. So that means that they know these are the standards that I can work on within my own organization as an academy, but how do I do this? And then education comes in place. So we advise them then to help building that structural academy system in a way. And that's by the end the success of how a country can establish a sustainable method.
Okay, interesting. But it's international standard, and then you localize that from there, yes?
Exactly. So it's starting from, let's say, the bigger picture and what we have currently at Double Pass, the more than 1,350 standards, how you can build your academy system, but always tailor-made. And it's the same like Kristian and FBA, and probably the same like Kashima is doing this, looking to their own context and then building something, let's say, individualized and tailor-made, exactly.
Kristian, what are the region's gaps, technical, cultural, or strategic? Like, I think we could say Asia, but then also the region here.
Again, depending on the country, there'll probably be a difference, right? But if we can try and generalize for Asia, at least from my lived experience and anecdotal conversations, I would say that the more important one to still crack is the cultural one. First of all, I think there's still many countries across Asia where the whole concept of building a career in football is still very alien. Definitely to parents, and I can tell you that from experience with our professional master in football business. Like we do, of course, get students from across Asia, but a lot of time, we also hear stories where their parents didn't agree that they should pursue that path, and maybe they should become a doctor, an engineer, or something else, right? So I think culturally there's still a long way to go in many parts of Asia, I would say, and other parts of the world as well, for that matter, where that needs to change if the rest will flow from it, right? But I think if you can focus on creating this new generation of youth that can see a vision, can see kind of like the northern star of what that path could look like, and then of course make sure that structurally you as a country or a federation or a league or a club do it in the right way, then before you know it, becomes a snowball effect, and then suddenly it will become a normal thing, to study sports management or football business or something else, right? And I think this starts at a young age, even with academy players. I think there's a big opportunity there for the different stakeholders to do a little bit more than maybe historically other parts of the world have done in educating those kids, like, hey, like, even if you don't make it as a football player, there's a whole industry behind that you can still be part of and find purpose in. So I think the cultural gap is in some parts of Asia still being worked on, but I see a positive trend.
Yeah, I think it's also important that kids are able to look up to players that look like them, are from where they're from, right? So yeah, culturally it's more important that we also have professional athletes from where we're from.
Yeah, it's about normalizing, same with...
Normalizing being in sport.
Exactly. Same as, in the West, in the past 5 or so plus years, they've been talking about women's football, right? And how the way you develop the game is by showing women's football on TV so that the younger girls can know that becoming a professional female soccer player is normal and it's, you know, possible. So I think same happens off the pitch, you know, as soon as you start developing the ecosystem, you know, in a better way, then suddenly parents and, you know, their children will see sport business as a viable career path as well.
Speaking of sports culture, Yohei, the Kashima Antlers are admired for nurturing a strong football culture. In your view, what role does education of players, staff, leaders play in sustaining that culture over decades?
I think it's vital. You know, we may not see this as education as such, but I think both Stig mentioned this and Kristian mentioned this as well. But as a club, you need a clear North Star. So we have a clear club mission, and it's important, to have for any clubs or any brands or any leagues or any entity to have a reason for your existence. You know, where are you heading to? It's important to have that, and Kashima, you know, we all share that. And also, not just for having that, but alignment is also important. You know, let's say if one of our coaches, I don't know, he or she mentioned something in the soccer clinic, football clinic, that message should not conflict with the messages sent out from our president or CEO. You know, it should resonate. And I think having that kind of a strong sort of understanding of your brand and your club, your mission, is really important in building your success. So I think we have that, and that's one of the most important things in maybe important aspects of our success over the past 30 odd years. We've had a solid foundation to build our culture in. Now, we don't necessarily, you know, have teaching programs internally to say, okay, this is our mission. You know, you should, you know, communicate with your kids or communicate with media in certain ways. But because we are all installed with this powerful mission within ourselves, all for victory is our mission. I'm not sure if you know the city of Kashima, but it's a very small city, rural. The population of Kashima is 64,000 people, and our average attendance this year has been 27,000. So, you know, we're very, very passionately supported club, and there, everybody who works at the club and also everybody who supports the club, they know what our brand is. You know, I think internally and also from outside of the club, it's important that we always tell the same story. In a way, this is education, right? I think it's always important to be able to say, hey, this is our brand. You know, there are so many from our story. There are so many elements that people can relate to, and it's important to keep sending these same messages to educate internally and also to build your fandom outside as well.
Do you think that there are any untapped opportunity that stronger education could unlock?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think other Asian countries do this as well, but we work closely with the educational institutes in Japan, especially locally as well. Maybe this is an interesting fact, but in Japan, not all top talents are produced by us clubs. high schools. We have a great schooling system. We also have great university leagues as well. Now, in the last World Cup held in Qatar, we managed to beat Germany and Spain. And of the 26 players who were selected to play in the World Cup, 9 had university league experience. So this is unheard of in Europe. All of maybe 99% of their talents are produced by clubs, whereas 35% of our national players who represented our country in Qatar were nurtured from the education system. So you can clearly see that this kind of business model is probably something that doesn't exist in Europe, but that can be maybe translated or can be applied in other countries in Asia.
Stig, when you look at pathways in Europe, Japan, and emerging football nations, what distinguishes systems that consistently produce talent from those that rely on isolated success?
Then you come back again to having like a structured, sustainable system in the back end, which is in place and which is always the fundament of developing and producing talent. Maybe also linking it back to the answer of Yohei. When you look to Japan, and I look to the partnership with Japanese Football Association and J-League, then again, and Kristian mentioned it as well, what is the North Star and what's the vision that you should have as a country? In this case, then in terms of producing talent. And that's the first question that we would like to, or discussion that we would like to have with the federation before just installing, let's say, audits or educational programs. Because the last thing we would like to do is just having educational programs for the fact of, as an end objective, to get a diploma. Education for us is a mean to achieve the bigger objective. And in the case with Japan, for instance, it was okay, we would like to help again the clubs, the academies, and audit them, putting them a mirror in front of them and telling them quite sincere but direct, this is what you're doing well, these are the points you can improve on. And based on those working points, and again linked with the vision, the bigger objective of the federation and the league, we install the right educational tracks in a kind of a CPD approach for all the sport technical leaders within the country. So answering your question, what is the success of countries, any part of the world who produce and develop talent in a sustainable way? That's a clear designed system with an end goal in mind, where education is the tool to achieve that end goal.
Kristian? If the region were to design a future-proof human development pathway, what should it look like? And how do we not only educate athletes, but the next generation of coaches, executives, analysts, and club builders who will define Asian football for the next 20 years?
So, to jump on Stig's perspective, right? So I think it starts with having a top-down buy-in, right? So it starts with senior leadership, defining the North Star, defining the strategy based off that. And that then kind of like creates a roadmap, which then kind of like, gathers the forces to look in the same direction, to row in the same direction. And directly and indirectly, that instills a specific type of culture, a culture of performance, a culture of excellence, a culture of accountability. And you need all of those ingredients, if you are going to achieve your targets, right? If you're going to develop the strategy in the best possible way. And I think to future-proof it, you need to build that culture. And to Stig's points as well, I think what Asia has a unique opportunity to do, which, because of maybe some historic and structural baggage that continents such as Europe or Latin America may have, they have this opportunity to make it more continuous and ongoing rather than just one-off, for example. And to Stig's points, the whole concept of CPD, like all around the world, it exists for coaches and for referees, right? They all have to have specific licenses. They need to get retrained and re-educated every now and then if they want to continue exercising that profession. And I think if you really want to stand out and go for the holy grail of football as a culture, as a business, and everything around it, then why not think about how do you implement a model of CPD for everyone working in federations, in leagues, in clubs. And I think this is what's going to future-proof the next, did you say 10 years for Asia, and will really set them up to compete at the highest levels in every competition that they participate in.
I totally agree with Kristian. I think we can't just be thinking about player development. We need to develop next generation leaders as well. And in that, I think it's really important. That's something that we're lacking in Japan. I think many of the executives and those who are in leadership in Japanese football, yes, they do very well domestically, but building relationship with, globally, and also absorbing and updating and sharing knowledge with the world is something that we need to work on. And I think FBA does very well in training and teaching those who could be in the leadership for the next generation. I think it's really important that we don't just think about football players, academies. We also need people. We also need to develop these people who run the actual clubs as well and leagues as well. So I totally agree with you, Kristian. Yes.
And then it's also key, Yohei, to connect the dots also within the club, yes. Because you fairly mentioned it's a chain. The ecosystem is a chain of developing and educating people. But you also should have of course, CEO and president on board at a certain moment in time, because when you talk about the business models or the football business models of a club and how education can be a supportive element into achieving that business model, then those kind of leadership people, they also should be on board at a certain moment in time.
This all kind of leads into my last question. So looking ahead to 2035, what does an educated Asian football ecosystem look like? I guess it could be an educated football ecosystem overall. What are the signs on the pitch and beyond that the region has arrived as a true global leader? Start with you, Kristian.
So I think it starts with having good governance and good leadership. And to my earlier point, having this big talent pool from senior to junior level executives that the industry can tap into and to develop those different strategies and visions and everything, right? On the pitch, what that would then lead to and look like is that you'll have very strong, sustainable, self-sustaining leagues across all of the different countries, not relying necessarily on FIFA or AFC funds. I think that it is like one key aspect on the pitch. And then off the pitch, it will be having this new generation of leaders that have the capacity to think creatively, think outside of the box, do their things in ways that make sense for their country and their stakeholders and their fans and their players and everything. And ideally, and this is also where I think, maybe this cultural baggage that some European and Latin American entities don't have, that have, and that maybe the Asian ones less so, is to balance the sporting side with the business side in a much more cohesive and collaborative fashion. I think this is a unique opportunity, to get it right and get cross-departmental alignment, which if you can achieve that, then both the on-pitch product and the off-pitch product will be, much better. And I think this is something that some European stakeholders have been trying to work towards, but I think it's still not easy. Curious to hear Stig's perspective for sure as well on that, and how he compares, what he sees in the European settings versus Asian or others. But at the end of the day, it's you're playing for the same team, right? Whether it's a national team or a club. So there shouldn't be these internal battles of, no, I don't want you to take more time of my players. They need to rest and concentrate. But what about the sponsors? So all of that needs to be handled, I think, in a very well thought out way. And yeah, hopefully in 10 years, Asia will have shown the rest of the world that it is possible, and that the results on the pitch and off the pitch can show for it.
I will also jump on the, let's say, the comment of Kristian to add on from our perspective. There are two elements, let's say, in the upcoming years, what can make the difference for Asian football. And again, I'm talking generally because this is something that should be tailored for any Asian country. A first element is, and that's coming out of what we also did together with FIFA on the global ecosystem analysis, where we analyzed more than 100 countries, is that we see in Asia that there is still a lack of connecting the dots within a country to have a smooth talent pipeline going to first, let's say, division, first league, and then to youth national teams. And there are a few elements and clear quick win solutions that can unlock or can create that more, let's say, that better smooth pipeline of talent going from all the different stakeholders, whether it's it better you are like football schools, talent centers, elite academies, private schools, etc. We should be connected within that system to then by the end, create more and better talent for the youth national teams. That's one thing. And a second thing, and then I look to, I just spotted it on the wall, the nice quote of, since I'm from Belgium, I have to name it, our colleague Yannick Carrasco. He said, surround yourself with people who help you grow. And that's exactly linked, I think, also to the panel of today, Kristian, is that what FBA is doing, what we are trying to complement on what they are doing in terms of tailor-made educational programs, again, for sport technical leadership. That's for us the key. That's the key to unlock with tailor-made leadership programs to achieve the business models that they have in mind, and to make sure that also in Asia that there are more under 21, under 23 playing minutes for homegrown kids, for local talent, who can then make, like it is the case in Japan, as a stepping stone league, make the connection to Europe or to the bigger leagues also future-proof in Asia. And I think those are the two important points that we would like to also share with everyone today.
Amazing. Yohei?
Yes, it's amazing. I think we're running out of time at the moment, so I think I'm just going to pick on the word sustainability of the league is really, really important. We as a club, we value sustainability of our club. Okay, maybe instant success on the pitch will give us, instant exposure, but that doesn't guarantee us our future for the next 10, 20 years. So I think in terms of leadership, education and meticulous succession planning is the key. Again, in terms of football, we need to keep producing talent, but not all talents will be, unfortunately, not all of our young athletes will become pros. We need to make sure that they have another path, not just in sports, but also in maybe the management side as well. So I think connecting dots, as you said, I think that could be connected, not just by a sporting perspective, but with education as well. So I think, you both hit the nails on the head, and I think Asia, I think my first point right at the start of the panel, that we are still in the developing stage, and we're more agile, we're more able to adapt to new business models and new ecosystem, these 2 points, sustainability and connecting dots, can be a really important element in doing that.
Yeah, and just to finish off, I think it'd be remiss to not bring it back to everything that's happening in Saudi. And I've been fortunate enough to come to all of the WFS events that have taken place here in the kingdom since 2023, and I see very clearly like how each year, the roadmap evolves and the ecosystem matures and everything. And I think the best anecdote that I can share for that is that I think a lot of the stakeholders here have been very intelligent about how they go about each step of the way. And for example, of course, it started with bringing in a lot of talent both on the pitch and off the pitch from other parts of the world. But then 1 year later, you started seeing this trend of Saudization and making sure that the local talent, again, on the pitch and off the pitch, gets the necessary educational and training opportunities as well. And the incoming requests, let's say, that we've been seeing and having from the kingdom over this past year, I guess, getting the World Cup 2034 hosting rights was a pivotal moment in that sense as well. But we see more and more entities understanding that, at the end of the day, if this is going to become a sustainable industry, then you need to have the right facilities and then the right people around those facilities to train the local talent, which hopefully will, turn into success on the pitch in 2034 and beyond. But also off the pitch, you need everyone, again, from senior to junior executives to the volunteers that will be helping in all those major events. You need to give them the right educational pathways as well to make sure that over time the football industry of the country, benefits from that and can be self-reliant in that way.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for your time and expertise.